This is really one of those intimate conversations with a young lady that has so much to tell you and so much courage, your experience with hair loss because of alopecia. So I'm going to introduce to you Lauren. Lauren, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Good. Why don't you tell our audience your story? It began a long time ago, it seems.
Yeah, in second grade. So it was actually, my family was on a trip to Disneyland, and my mom was brushing my hair out when it started coming out. And so they started freaking out, but they didn't tell me anything, so I'm like, I'm a little kid, they're not gonna ruin a trip to Disney by saying your hair's falling out. So we get back and we started searching, trying to find it. And I think it was we found someone who knew about it, and then they led us to you, and that's how we found out about Wigs for Kids, and I've been here since.
Did all your hair fall out at one time?
It was little clumps at a time.
Little clumps, so you had alopecia areata. It's about you're second grade, about 7 or 8 years old, right? And the reality is 7 years old, man, you don't even have the files about that kind of information as well. So what were you thinking? Do you remember back then what you were feeling?
Probably really scared and wondering why is this happening? Why is this happening to me? Yeah. Probably just very confused because you don't know what this is when you're that young. Probably only just think the worst that could happen.
Now, how did the kids treat you around the school and playground and the things that you were involved with?
For the most part, they were pretty understanding. Every year my mom would come in, different class, and explain everything, but there were those few kids who liked to pick on you. Had a phase where it was still had some hair but not all of it, so I wore a hat. So I had those few kids who would like to take my hat and run away with it because they thought they were funny or something.
And how'd that make you feel?
I'm probably really sad, don't know why they're doing that.
All the emotions that go through, sad, embarrassed, angry. I'm sure you were angry, right? And all that was a lot to address as a kid. Now you came to Wigs for Kids and we were able to give you a brand new hairpiece which actually brought you back into kind of what looked to the public normal. Now let's fast forward to where you're at today, which now you're how old?
I'm 17.
17, and you're beautiful. And the reality is you've become strong. And tell us what alopecia and what you had to go through really was almost like a teaching skill to create who you are today. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I do.
Well, what is it? What did you feel that you've learned different than the kids around you who have not had that kind of issue to deal with?
It's definitely a way to help you love yourself, because I know it's something that's really hard for a lot of people, and especially when you're losing all your hair, that's a lot of how people express themselves is with their hair, the color, how they have it cut. So losing that big of a part of you, you're well, now I'm not beautiful anymore, because that's what society makes you think, is you have to have hair to be beautiful. So losing it all made me really love myself for me, and not for how I look, but for how I am inside.
Oh, so the beauty inside was radiant as the beauty outside. Wow, you took my line. Because it's so important. One of the things that I share with every client, especially Wigs for Kids, individuals, that the reality is beauty is not about the hair. We need that to help enhance our beauty, but the beauty has to be inside. And what happens, I find so often, is if there's bullying, if there's misunderstanding, if the school, like your mom, educated, if they weren't educated, they become so foolish. We did a play and it was called When Kids Know Kids Care, because I was tired of people saying kids are cruel, kids are mean. It's almost like the 99% to 1 that has that situation, but it can make you miserable. The play was on a playground. A little boy had lost his hair, and a girl who was one of those 1% that would pick on him ended up finding out about the sensitivity of this child having cancer in that case, and she gave him her hat. So it was a real nice, happy ending, which is the way I like every movie or TV show. But the reality for you now, you've advanced to a place in your life that you're stronger because of this. You've overcome a lot of things. Not that you like it, but it's where it's at. Now you're doing something to advance the awareness of alopecia. Tell our audience what you want to do.
I'm a Girl Scout, and I'm currently working on my Gold Award, which is the highest award that a Girl Scout can earn. So I thought, well, hey, my friends like to joke it's a gimme, but I was like, hey, what better to do than alopecia awareness? Because one problem I have a lot when I'm out in public without a hat or wig on is people are like, oh, do you have cancer? How's the treatment going? And I have to explain to them, I'm like, no, I just have alopecia. I'm like, it is still a disease, but I'm not sick or anything. I just lost my hair. So then they usually look at me confused. They're like, well, what's that? I'm like, oh, well, basically your body got allergic to your hair. It fell out.
And you have a kind of an awareness bracelet you created, right? right?
I had to get funds for this, so I ordered these bracelets. I said our bald is beautiful, alopecia, and I sold those around school. I work out and my trainer's selling them at her workout place.
But growing up courageous, taking a lemon and making lemonade out of it. You know, it's almost sad that it's called a disease because you're actually healthier than the most population. The alopecia is an autoimmune disease, for those that don't know, that your white blood cells that fight disease think your hair follicle, either in a spot or your whole head or your whole body, is a disease, so it kicks it out. We don't know really what stimulates and starts it or triggers it. It's a product of genetics. You have it from birth, but the reality is it may never trigger off, but sometimes it triggers off, and we don't know in medicine or in science yet how to trigger that back on at this point. Anything that you would share to either a young person who's going through alopecia, a young person who maybe sees somebody who has a friend that has alopecia, any message that you would want to share with them right now?
Well, probably I know it's really hard. I know something I thought a lot when it first started happening is like, why did it happen to me? Well, I feel like I felt ugly. I felt like no one would ever love me. But I mean, no, it gets better. It makes you stronger, more confident in yourself. You'll see the beauty in yourself. It's easier to do a lot of things with hair if you really want to get a bunch of wigs and stuff. And know that people will still love you. I have an amazing group of friends. I've had some really cool boyfriends in the past. Like, having no hair doesn't change anything. You're still you, you're still beautiful, you just don't have hair, and that makes you even more beautiful in my eyes.
And you know, it's the mindset. It's the mindset you just presented to the audience. And there's people out there that may not feel that way. They may feel ugly, they may feel, you know, beaten, or why me? You're not alone. You're not alone if you have alopecia. You have people like this and the people that will be interviewed through this program share with you, you're not alone. And how did they make it to their courageous moments? Although, there's a couple days I'm sure you have a bad hair day or no hair day. We'll have to coin that phrase.
Yeah.
And the reality is, you know, it's tough, but you got to get back up. And it's no different than kids that I have that have, you know, beaten cancer, or kids that have trichotillomania, that have pulled their hair out and scalped themselves with the, you know, compulsive disorder. The ones that succeed, and like you and the many that you're going to share with in your interviews, are basically those that have actually overcome by changing and renewing their mind, trusting in God to get you through the process, having great moms and dads, and even if they're not great moms and dads, because they may not know how to do everything. The reality is, inside yourself, if you remember that you're beautiful, as you've told this audience, you are beautiful. So hair, no hair, hat, no hat, whatever it is, it keeps you strong. It keeps you strong. Share this with your friends on Facebook. Share this with your friends that may be having this situation, and let us know your comments and anything you want to know about hair loss, hair thinning, hair management, anything that may be there. Have a beautiful day, and remember, as we've both said, beauty begins within. I'm Jeffrey Paul.